In the quiet moments, that's where I'll find a little room to breathe, leave it all behind. Give me room to breathe, I need some time to heal my heart, to clear my mind. Gonna love myself, yeah, I believe in the power of me. Just give me room to breathe.
Great new day to all my self-care family and friends. Welcome back to the Room2Breathe Podcast. I am your host, Life Coach 614, and I am so glad you made space to be here today. Now, before we get into today's podcast, do me a favor. If you're feeling the vibe, go ahead and show us some love. Tap the screen, like, comment, and share it with someone who may need a little healing energy today. And if this is your first time here or you haven't done so already, hit the follow button and subscribe to our channel so that way you're always tapped in when a new episode drops. I also want to personally invite you to check out our digital home at selfcareclub.org, where you'll find everything from affirmative apparel to motivational merch and free resources to nourish your growth and remind you that you're supported every step of the way. Just know that you don't have to do this alone. We are healing in community, growing one breath, one moment, one day at a time. So today, give yourself permission to pause, to reflect, and to make space for peace, for growth, and most importantly, for you. Now, if anything in today's episode hits home, I want you to drop a green heart in the chat. It's our way of saying I'm healing, I'm growing, and I'm showing up for me today. Now, let's get ready to breathe, reflect, and grow together. Hey, Miss Sherry, welcome in, Queen. Today, I want to talk about travel. And I know you're like, travel, self-care, coach, like, make it make sense. I got you. Listen, we're going to talk about the kind of travel that we don't talk about, okay? Because right now, travel is like the aesthetic. It is trending everywhere. You scroll through your timeline and it's nothing but tropical beaches, matching airport outfits, cute little travel reels, right? You know, all of this soft life playing in the background. Everybody's outside, and listen, I love that for us, okay? Especially Black women, right? For so long, we've been told to shrink, to stay put, to hold it down, but never to explore, right? We're not encouraged to explore. So yeah, I encourage us to get out there, to go see the world, take that trip, experience the beauty, the rest, the freedom, right? But can I be real with y'all about something? I feel like, and I'm not trying to be messy, but I feel like some of y'all are globetrotting, but still haven't made the journey back to yourself, right? Like you've been to Bali, you've been to Tulum, you've been to Paris, right? But have you been to the place inside of you that still feels, 8 years old and unseen? That place in your spirit where the pain lives? Have any of you traveled there? That part of your story that you've been trying to outfly for years? And here's the truth. You could book a flight, right? But you can't book a flight far enough to outrun what's unhealed. You feel me? And, you can curate the perfect vacation. You can pack your bags. You can leave your city. But when you come back, you bring you back with you, right? You bring back the patterns, the triggers, the anxiety that you've dressed up as ambition, the self-doubt that you've hidden behind productivity, the version of you that still seeks validation, right? You can't run from it, right? And so, you've brought back that external validation seeking person, which, is the version of you that kind of claps for everybody else, but questions his or her own worth. And so that's why some of us need to travel where there's no map, right? Because there's no map on this trip. We need to travel inward. We need to go where nobody in our bloodline has dared to go. Not because they didn't want to, but because they didn't have the space, right? They didn't have the support or the permission. And so I want to say this today with love. I believe that some of you are afraid of therapy, not because it doesn't work, but because it would make you feel. It would crack open that strong friend mask that you've mastered over the years. It would expose the grief that you've been calling motivation. It would ask you to lay down your armor and finally be seen. And many of us feel like that's a weakness, right? But it's not. It's a warrior walk. It's warrior work. It's easy for us to hop on a plane, but it is hard for us to sit in a room with a therapist and say, this is what I've been carrying, and I don't want to carry it anymore. And see, that's the kind of passport stamp that your future self will thank you for. See, today we're talking about the kind of travel that doesn't require TSA, right? Therapy is the kind of travel that doesn't require a boarding pass, but it will have you unpacking so much emotional baggage like it's carry-on, right? And let's be real. For a lot of people, this ain't the kind of trip that gets posted on IG. There aren't very many curated highlight reels, no matching outfits for this, right? Just you, your truth, your trauma, and the quiet courage, to finally deal with it. If you think that jumping on a plane and flying across the world is bold, try sitting in a room and saying out loud that I've never felt loved in my house. Or I don't know how to trust people. Right, Portia? Or what about saying I'm still mad about what they did to me? That's the kind of brave that doesn't get a travel voucher. And, being the first in your bloodline to do it, right? Being the first person in your family to go to therapy, is like being the first to cross the ocean, right? Because many of us are facing generational unspoken pain. Just generations of it. Things that have been swept under the rug, right? That dysfunction that we just sweep right under the rug. And we've passed down, so many survival strategies. You're facing, we don't talk about that. What happens in this house stays in this house, right? You're facing generational gaslighting. It's no wonder people avoid it. Because, I know firsthand therapy ain't for the weak. It's for the ones who are tired of pretending. You become the first in your family to break the cycle. And guess what? That kind of healing doesn't just bless you. It blesses your kids' kids, and their great grandkids. It blesses your future relationships. It takes on a whole new life for your entire lineage. So let's stop acting like therapy is a luxury, right? Therapy is not a luxury. It is our life jacket, especially for those of us who grew up, emotionally drowning, but learning how to smile on the surface. Okay, listen, I can take it even deeper for you. You ever wonder why you keep repeating the same relationship cycles? Why you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people? Why you keep doubting yourself when it's time for you to level up? Like, that's not just bad luck. That is unhealed trauma guiding your GPS. And let's not even get on the subject of jet lag, right? It's bigger than jet lag. That tired feeling that you get after you take your trips. Because this trauma causes a soul lag. Similar, but a little deeper, right? That moment when your outer life is moving forward, but your inner self is stuck back in a season of pain. Like, it is time for us to catch up. And, we do that with therapy, with healing circles, journaling, breath work, all of that, life coaching. That is soul travel. That's how you arrive at peace, not just pictures. That's where you find your purpose, not just making plans. Thank you, Portia. So when someone says, I'm planning a trip, my question is, where to? Are you going to Italy or to intimacy with yourself? Are you headed to Cabo or clarity around your boundaries? Right? Are you headed to a resort or are you going to reset? See, not all travel requires a suitcase. Some of it requires you to unpack your emotional luggage, right? The emotional luggage that our mothers could never unpack. Some of it requires us to break the cycles that our fathers weren't equipped to name. Welcome in, Kale. Hey, Tay. Some of it means grieving the version of yourself that had to survive so that you could learn how to thrive. Welcome in, Tan. So yeah, let's redefine what it means to go somewhere, right? Let's normalize saying, I can't come to brunch this weekend. I got therapy, right? Be right back, headed to therapy. Let's say I'm unavailable this month because I'm traveling inward. We say I'm investing in my healing like it's a 5-star vacation because my soul deserves that level of luxury. Because therapy is a luxury. Thank you for the gifts. And it's a necessary one, right? Healing is a privilege, but it's also your birthright. And your healing doesn't have to look pretty. It just has to be honest. And even if nobody in your family has gone to therapy before, even if they call it crazy, or the thing that I hate to hear is when they say, oh, that's white people stuff, right? Because in the Black community, we don't do therapy, right? They tell you all the time, that's white people stuff. That's not what we do. Just know that comment, that level of ignorance doesn't define you. You get to be the blueprint. You get to be the first one, right? You get to be the healed ancestor that your future children will be proud of. So, yeah, when I start thinking about that, and I think about the travel, I have to ask myself, where have I really been traveling lately? And I'm not talking about the flight that you booked last summer or the trip that you're planning for your birthday. I'm talking about your inner world. Thank you, Tay. Your emotional landscape. Hey, D, welcome in, love. I'm talking about the parts of you that don't get posted or praised. Have you taken a trip back to that heartbreak that you never fully healed from? The one you said that you were over, but it still shows up, and how quickly you shut down, or how you keep attracting unavailable love? Have you visited the version of you that needed to be parented better? The little girl inside of you that just needed to feel seen, safe, held, but instead she had to grow up fast and carry more than, her share. Have you sat with your triggers long enough to hear what they're trying to teach you? Welcome in, Blue, Rich Risings. Or are you still running from the parts of your story that felt too messy to name? Yeah, people don't want the truth. They like those masks. You're right, Sherry. But we need to begin soul travel. We need to begin soul travel. We need to normalize it, right? And, that's what it means to go where your bloodline hasn't gone, right? To sit in the rooms that they were too scared to enter, to feel feelings that they didn't even have the language for, or to choose honesty over image, healing over hustle. And again, if today's topic hits home for you, just know it's okay. Just take a breath. There's no judgment here, just truth, just grace, just love. I told y'all we was going to keep it real here today, because I know that some of y'all haven't had space to reflect because you've entered survival mode. Yeah, Portia, you're right. Sitting with triggers is hard, but it is self-revealing. Some of you have been emotionally on the go for so long that you forgot what stillness feels like. Some of you are terrified to slow down because you're afraid of what it will feel like when the noise stops. But healing happens in stillness. Healing happens when we stop pretending that we're fine and we start asking ourselves what we really need. I'll share with you guys a quick story. I once worked with a client, and she had traveled to like 5 different countries before the age of 30. You know, she was beautiful, vibrant, smart, but by the time she had come to me, you guys, her soul was exhausted. And it wasn't because of all the flights that she had taken. You know, it had nothing to do with the trips, but it was because of all the running she was doing. She was running from a version of herself that she never had the space to meet. I'm talking childhood trauma, narcissistic parenting, a voice in her head that sounded like everybody else, but not her own. And I'll never forget, one day she said, "I've seen the world, but I've never really seen me." And for her, that was a turning point in her life, sitting there, admitting that to me. And, you know, her real trip began that moment she booked her first coaching session. It was the first time in her life that she was able to sit and unpack all of the things that she had been carrying, not just, you know, what she was wearing, right? And so again, that's why I encourage us to take the trip. You know, we're so quick to book a trip to the Bahamas, book a trip to the therapist. And, you know, we take trips not knowing what the outcome is going to be. So some of us are so scared to go to therapy because we don't know the outcome. The outcome is healing. May not look the way you thought it was going to look, but the outcome is healing. So the same way you put faith in this trip to the Bahamas, this trip to Jamaica, this trip to Paris, you have faith that you're going to go there and you're going to have a good time. Book a trip to your therapist. Have faith that you're going to come out healed. Right? I feel like some of y'all are out here acting like travel to another country is the same thing as healing. And I love you. I do. But no, ma'am. No, sir. Because see, you go to Cabo, but you know, it's like you went to Cabo, but you still ghost people when they get too close to you. You flew to the Maldives, right? But you ain't flown back to check on your own emotional availability. You got that passport stamp in, you know, Paris, Italy, wherever, right? But you still carry abandonment issues from your daddy that you refuse to address. So let's just call it what it is. Because some of us are out here globetrotting to distract ourselves from the fact that we are still emotionally stuck in a childhood bedroom full of unspoken pain and don't talk about it rules. And listen, I'm not judging you. I've been there. You know, we've all got that. Let me book this trip to forget about what just broke my heart energy. We all do it. So again, there's no judgment. But we have to begin to think about what happens when that trip ends. When you land back at home and the silence is even louder. When you realize that the ocean couldn't wash away your grief or your guilt or your need to people please your way into love. Some of y'all are choosing plane tickets over personal growth, and it shows. It shows. It's like we've mastered packing carry-on, but we haven't unpacked this childhood trauma. Did it get hot in here for y'all? I see Kale say, ouch, it's a little hot. Are we cooking up the truth today, y'all? And I don't want y'all to think that I'm judging, your girls trip or your solo, trips. I want you to live your best life. I want you to see the world. Okay. But if you're flying across the world just to avoid flying inward, that's not self-care. That is self-avoidance dressed up in passport stamps. You've been everywhere in the world except your own heart. You've got a folder filled with travel itineraries, but you can't sit still long enough to journal why you don't trust people. You're quick to spend $500 on a resort, but you won't spend $100 on a therapist. Right? We're quick to post reels saying soft life only while we're filled with rage bubbling under every single breath, right? Simply because somebody didn't read your mind. She said, keep cooking. This is a safe space. Well, let's talk about it then, right? Because some of us are in love with aesthetics, right? Social media makes us, love the aesthetic of things. Healing looks cute on Instagram. The sage, the crystals, the quotes, right? It's cute. But when was the last time you actually held yourself accountable for the part that you played? When was the last time that you sat in silence and asked yourself, why do I keep attracting the same kind of pain in a different outfit? It's easy to repost a quote about boundaries, but do you actually have them? Do you actually enforce them? It's easy to tell the world that you're cutting people off, but have you actually cut anyone off? And in fact, have you actually cut off the toxic version of you that keeps sabotaging your own joy? Because sometimes we have to be willing to admit that we are the common denominator, right? And I know that this may sound a little petty, but it is time for us to stop blaming our mama for not giving, us what she never got. We've got to stop expecting peace from people that only entertain us when they're bored. Stop calling everything a vibe just because you don't want to admit it's a trauma bond. You say you want healing, but healing isn't always pretty. Sometimes it's saying no and having nobody check on you afterwards. Sometimes it's watching your phone stay dry when you start setting boundaries. Sometimes it's grieving the version of yourself that let people walk all over you just to be liked. Healing is sometimes lonely, but it's not empty. Because what you lose in people, you gain in peace. And baby, that's a trade that I will take every time. Every single time, 10 out of 10, I recommend. I always choose my peace over pieces. I choose my peace over people issuing out pieces to me. Or I choose my peace over people leaving me in pieces when they're done entertaining me. So yeah, y'all can book your trips if you want to, but make sure that the destination you're really aiming for is you. Because the passport ain't proof of growth. The patterns are. So, some of y'all got money for round trip flights, but swear therapy is too expensive. You'll drop $200 on an outfit to wear to brunch to go sit with friends who don't even ask you how you are for real. You'll invest money in a girls' trip, but not in your own healing journey. Right? Like we find the money, we will budget the money for that designer luggage, but the emotional baggage that we are carrying every single day still has no boundaries, no accountability. That too much for y'all? This too heavy for y'all today? It's Thursday. We still thankful, right? Okay, I'll soften it just a little. We got some new people in here. Let me talk to the new people. You deserve luxury. You deserve softness. But I need for you to understand that peace of mind is the real luxury. And listen, a lot of us, we trying to, be like Stella and get our groove back. But you know what's sexy? A woman who goes to therapy and doesn't need to weaponize her silence to feel powerful. That's sexy, y'all. A woman who heals out loud without needing the aesthetic to prove it. And men, y'all not off the hook. Because one of the sexiest thing on a man for me, honey, is a man that is trying to heal. A man that is trying to unlearn. A man that is showing up and showing that he is ready to break these generational curses. Oh, that's a fine man right there. Where you coming from, sir? Therapy? Okay, hey, how you doing? Right, ladies? We want us a healed man. I don't need to be with a hurt person who's ready to show up and hurt me. So yeah, we have to begin healing out loud and not worrying about the aesthetics. Because we know that look good. Right, Brand? Brand said, oh, yes, ma'am. Healing is the most attractive thing that you can do. Right? Because you can't curate healing. You can't slap a filter on your trauma. Right? You can't vibe your way around emotional accountability. You can't soft life your way through hard truths. Healing is not cute. It's not always quiet. We've talked about this. Sometimes it's you crying in the car after you set a boundary that your inner child never knew that he or she was allowed to have. Sometimes it's you journaling through the shame of staying too long in places you knew you weren't safe. Sometimes it's you in therapy, mad as hell because your body remembered what your mind tried to forget. That's healing. Not the playlist, not the crystals, not the vacation. It's the choice to face yourself when it would be easier to perform for everybody else. What they say is, it's easier to preach 10 sermons than it is to live by one. And let me say this because somebody in the back might need this today. Y'all ready? You cannot eat, pray, love yourself into self-worth if you're still afraid to sit in your own silence. You can't hashtag self-care Sunday your way into wholeness if you're still letting unhealed people rent space in your heart. Welcome in, Becky. You can't keep expecting new scenery to fix the same story. You cannot manifest peace if you are still dating chaos on purpose. It is time for us to be grown about it. Some of us don't need another trip. We need to cancel the ones we keep taking back emotionally, right? We need to slow down on spinning the block with some of these people. We need to unsubscribe from these healing aesthetics and actually start doing the work. It may not always be pretty, but it's always powerful. So here's your real life challenge for this week. I want you to take inventory of your emotional travel history. And when I say your emotional travel history, I want you to ask yourself, where do you keep returning to emotionally? What cycles in your life feel like deja vu? Who do you keep giving access to just because they know where you've been, right? They know your story. And so after you take inventory of your emotional travel history, I want you to make a list of 3 emotional destinations that you've been avoiding. Maybe it's grief. Maybe it's rage. Maybe it's the shame you feel for who you had to be then to survive. And after you list your 3 emotional destinations that you've been avoiding, I want you to make a plan. Not for your next trip, but for your next truth. And, that might look like booking a therapy session, setting a boundary, saying I'm not okay and meaning it. There is a difference between social travel and soul travel. And too many of us are fluent in one and fearful of the other. Social travel is what we've been taught to chase. It looks good. It photographs well. It gets likes, right? That's what people share. It's glamorized, normalized, monetized. It's the perfectly curated feed. Like we said, those coordinated airport outfits, the frozen cocktails in your hand, the luxury Airbnb with the marble countertops. Y'all know what I'm talking about, right? They cute. And listen, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not knocking it at all, because we all deserve beauty in our life. We deserve a soft life. We deserve to rest and reveal in new experiences. But let's be real. Some of y'all are traveling the world and still coming home emotionally bankrupt. Because soul travel takes real courage. It's not cute. It's not always comfortable. It doesn't always get applause. Soul travel means stepping into therapy when you were raised to stay silent. It means journaling through your triggers instead of projecting them onto someone else. It means saying I'm not okay, even when your whole life looks like it is. And I know y'all like tea, right? Y'all like to sip the tea when it's hot. So here's the real tea. We live in a world that rewards performance, not vulnerability. So people will praise your passport, but overlook your pain. They will repost your resort view, but ignore your nervous breakdowns. They'll comment #goals under your couples trip, but never actually ask if you're really happy. But healing doesn't require an audience. It needs honesty, intention, and room, right? Room to breathe, inner space. Social travel is a getaway. Soul travel is a homecoming. Because when you take that trip back to you, your authentic self, the one beneath the trauma, beneath the people pleasing, beneath the generational programming, that's where real freedom lies. That's where real freedom begins. So when you choose coaching, when you choose therapy, that's a boarding pass to boundaries. When you choose silence and solitude over another social scene, that's a layover in self-awareness. Hey, Michael. When you say no more running, no more numbing, I'm ready to feel this and heal this. Oh, baby, that's a round trip to rebirth. And you might not get likes for that, but your nervous system will thank you. Your future relationships will thank you. Your inner child will finally be able to breathe again. So remember that social travel is often about escaping, right? You're tired, you're burnt out, you're overwhelmed, so you book a trip. You step away from your life for just a minute, and for a moment everything feels better until you come home and the weight is still there because you never unpacked it, you just paused it. But soul travel, that's about engagement. It's not running away. It's about running toward the truth. It's not covering it up. It's uncovering who you really are. And that kind of journey takes bravery. It requires you to face your shadows, grieve your old self, and challenge the beliefs that kept you safe but small. It lets go of, identities that were built out of survival, not alignment. And so something that I always tell my clients is that the inner journey always comes before the outer shift. We've got to take that trip inward before we see a shift on the outside. Change has to begin on the inside. So you can change your location, your circle, your relationship status, your job. But if you don't change your patterns, you're just decorating the same pain in a different environment. Soul travel is about doing the internal work that nobody claps for. It's messy, it's nonlinear, right? It's deeply personal. But that reward, that wholeness, that peace, that self-trust, right? That provides you a connection to your truth that is so grounded that you no longer need external validation to feel valuable. So ask yourself, are you investing in memories or in your emotional mastery? Are you filling up your calendar or your spirit? Are you spending money on experiences that feed your image or healing that frees your soul? Because one is a moment and the other is a movement. And when I say a movement, I'm talking about a legacy of liberation that only starts with you. So know that, booking that first therapy session, that's a flight to freedom. Setting boundaries with your toxic family, that is a layover in liberation. Welcome in, Buddha. Hey, Charles. Thank you for the follow. Choosing rest over hustle, that is like a weekend getaway to your worth. You might not have a postcard from it, but your soul remembers. You might not post it, but your future self will thank you. It's giving you all the likes, the hearts, the thumbs up. It's the gift that keeps on giving. So maybe it's time to stop chasing your next trip and start chasing your next breakthrough. It's time for us to begin to say, I give myself permission to explore my healing. I am not bound by what my bloodline did not do. I choose therapy, boundaries, and peace over pretending, over performing, right? I am the destination my ancestors dreamed of. And that my healing is valid, even if nobody claps for it. I travel within and discover parts of me that the world could never show me. Family, the real soft life isn't just travel and brunch and vibes. It's emotional regulation. It's nervous system peace. It's not crying over the same situation every year. It's being able to trust yourself, to forgive without pretending, to set boundaries without guilt. That's luxury. So today, maybe book the therapy, not the trip, right? Think journal instead of jet. Maybe feel instead of flee. Because once you start to travel inward, nothing outward will shake you the same way again. And in case nobody has told you lately, I am so proud of you for even thinking of going to that place, that brave place, that quiet place, the place that maybe no one else in your family has ever went, but you will. Thank you. We are healing in community, you guys. We are doing this together. And I want you guys to know that I see you, that I love you, and that I believe that you deserve that trip inward. Now, before we part ways today, as always, I need to leave you guys with a little love and light. I encourage you to keep breathing through the highs, the lows, and every single moment in between. Keep choosing peace, even when it feels just out of reach. And know that you will always be supported here at the Self-Care Club. You are always seen. You are always valued. You are always loved. So don't be afraid to take up space, speak your truth, and make a little room for you to breathe. I love you all to life, and I am praying that your day is not just amazing, but aligned and intentional, and yes, on purpose, filled with purpose. This has been another Room to Breathe podcast, and I cannot wait to connect with you again soon. Thank you.
I found my room to